Welcome to the Racing Pigeon International Podcast. We talk about everything racing pigeons, the latest news, results, events, and interviews from around the world.
So on this podcast, I wanted to talk a bit about my personal plans and some changes that have happened and my plans for the future with pigeons. So a few months ago, my son Zandy, who some of you may know, has been racing for a few years now. He moved out, he flew the nest, and he's got a new race loft where he's living now. Really nice race loft, and he's got a small team, and he's enjoying having his new loft and his team. He's trying to break some old birds at the moment, which is proving to be challenging. So yeah, he's flying, he's racing this year, and all is good. And subsequently that's meant that I've got a 36-foot loft here. I've still got some of his old race team and the stock birds and what have you. And in a weird way, it's kind of given me the freedom to do what I want. Because very much while he was living here and racing here and what have you, it was pretty much geared to what he wanted to do and his racing and what have you. And having a 5-section 36-foot loft with aviaries on and a stock loft and what have you was pretty much all focused on his racing, which was great. But now I've got the loft, and I can pretty much do what I want to do. And I've always said for the last 3 or 4 years, I haven't got the time to race myself. No matter if I got nothing else to do, great, I would love to enter some races. But the reality is I haven't got the time with life and with business that I run and everything else that goes on. I haven't got the time to be training them, going down the road and what have you. So I've said for a long time, I've said to Zandy, if it was just me, which it now is, I would enter into OneLife races in the UK and around the world, and I would fly some pigeons out here, which I get a massive amount of enjoyment in just seeing them fly around. One day, you never know, I may race long distance and extreme long distance, which has always been my passion for 30 plus years now. But right now, it's not the right time. I can't do that. Just like I say, as a lot of people are finding, I haven't got the time. It takes a lot of time to do it properly. And to me, there's no point in doing something, if you're not doing it properly. So, I am, this is where I'm at. This is my plan. So I've got a stock loft, which I'm redoing the stock loft. I've actually parted the young birds, parted the stock birds, got the young birds that Zandy wanted to race. Initially I was going to do single breeding pens only in the stock loft, but I haven't got enough space to get the amount of pairs that I want in there, and I don't want single breeding cages. I want walk-in pens, and I haven't got the room. I wanted a maximum of 20 pair, and I haven't got the room to do that properly, to give the pigeons justice, to do them justice. And I didn't want 3x3 cages, so I'm changing it a little bit, putting a new roof in, a new ceiling in and what have you, and redoing lights and changing the layout a little bit. So that'll be my stock loft. I'm going to have room for 20 pairs, and then I'm going to make another section which is kind of like single breeding pens. There'll only be 4 in there, but the difference is that I'll be able to let the birds out into a section, and they'll have an aviary to go around in and what have you. So I can let them out on rotation, or if they're paired up and they're staying in their pairs, they can be let out all the time. So they're kind of going to be like big 2.5 by 2.5 by 2.5 foot square boxes where I can put certain cocks that I want to pair to multiple hens in, but also they won't be staying in there. They'll have the loft, the section to go around it. So that's my stock. As I've said on another podcast a while ago, I'm properly getting into fancy pigeons. I went to my first fancy pigeon sale a few months ago. I went to another one this weekend, And when I've got everything sorted out, I'll do a video of them. I have got a really good variety of different fancy pigeons, which I've dedicated one section to. I haven't paired them up yet, and I've got to get some bigger nest boxes done for some of the bigger pouter pigeons. A standard racing nest box is not big enough for them. So yeah, out of my 5 sections in my loft now, I'm going to have one section for my old race birds that fly out. And as I said earlier, I get a great deal of enjoyment. Well, apart from yesterday when 2 birds of prey were on them, I get a great deal of enjoyment from seeing them just fly out, to be honest, as simple as it might seem. Then I'm going to have another section with some young birds in, race young birds. Then I got my fancy pigeon section, and then I've still been cultivating the Myler pigeons. For those of you who don't know about the Myler pigeons, big thing up in Yorkshire many years ago. A racing pigeon, but a very different type of racing pigeon, really. Still really don't know the origins of the Mylers. To me, they look like old small bush arts, the old style small bush arts. There are a lot of dark checkers in there, especially the ones from Eric Pickersgill, who's probably the most famous Myler racer. I've got about 40 of them in another section, so there's a section going to be dedicated. There's some fancy pigeons in there at the moment, got to come out, but I'm going to get it organised to where I'm going to have one section for the Mylers. There's going to be about 40 birds in there, and I'm looking forward to letting them out. I have had some flying out, but with all of the changes that have been going on, they haven't. And yeah, they fly, they're bred to fly 1 mile only, which a lot of people might say that's not pigeon racing. Well, who's to say what it is? Is it a pigeon? Does it race? Yes. Well, it's trained to fly 1 mile. And a friend of Xander's and ours had a few pair off me, lives local, and he lets his out every day, and he said they'll fly for like 3 or 4 times around, fast as lightning. He trains them every day. They fly pretty much at street level to get home. It's a different ballgame. And the Myler sport side of the sport's kind of been fading out because it was very much a communal, small loft-based thing. They had like these common areas where people flew them into, and councils have been getting rid of them. It's a dying sport, really. It's pretty much dead. There's still people that keep them, but the people that do keep them, they don't keep too many, like 3, 4, maybe 5 pairs max flying out. And as they keep coming up, I've been buying different ones from different people. The main ones I've got from Eric Pickersgill, who's like the master Myler racer back in the day. Still got them now. His pigeons are predominantly all dark checkers. You may have seen a video about one of the pigeons called Eric, which I had off him when I first started with the Mylers. I'm dead pleased that I've got finally out of 2 years because he was close to death. Finally got a young bird out of him, which I'm really pleased about. So yeah, I've got the Mylers, which there's still in my long-term plan. I want to revive the Mylers because I think it's a great sport. It doesn't take lots to train them because you're training them from 1 mile. It doesn't take all weekend. There's a lot of positives with the Myler thing, so I'm still cultivating the Mylers. So that's another section. And then once I got all that sorted out, when I went up to Eric Pickersgill to get my first Mylers, he also keeps rollers, Birmingham rollers. And he gave Zandy a pair. I've still got one of them here, actually. And they're fascinating little birds. And I've always kind of been interested in the rolling pigeons. And over the last few weeks, I've been properly researching and getting into it. And I'm going to do another podcast specifically about this, but I'm also going to keep a section of rollers. Because, like I said, I get as much pleasure from seeing them fly around my garden, my racing pigeons, as I do anything. And with these rollers, it's based in your garden. Obviously, it's a competition on how many roll at the same time, what have you. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing as well. So a combination of my stock loft, which I'm going to be building the stock loft around competing properly in OneLife races. 'I've got some good OneLife pigeons from Maurice O'Donnell already. but I'm going to be cultivating my stock loft predominantly based on one loft, to win one loft races or do well in one loft races, bring some longer distance pigeons in, some of the Barcelona line of pigeons, and work that as like a 5-year project to get my stock loft to where it can start competing in one loft races around the world, in the UK and around the world. I'm competing in the Algarve race this year with Maurice O'Donnell as a syndicate, which I'm looking forward to. I'm going to the Algarve as well in September, which also I'm very much looking forward to. I haven't been on a plane for a few years. And with one loft races, for me, it's about the ease of somebody else training them, looking after them. All you've got to do is focus on breeding the best young birds you can to enter into these races. And it works for me. And as I said before, I'm a big fan of them if done right. And I like the idea of also being able to then travel to the finals and the hotspot races and what have you. Like I say, I'm going to Portugal in September to see the final there. And that's a thing to look forward to. You get to meet different people. I think it's a great part of that sport. So yeah, going to be doing that. So not racing, despite Zandy wanting me to. I just haven't got the time, like I said. Time and energy has got to go elsewhere. I haven't got enough hours in the day as it is. So yeah, one loft racing. Gonna keep some of the children of the stock birds that are flying out, some of the pigeons that have been racing to here. And then I've got my milers, I've got my fancy pigeons, which there's some real characters in there. I'll have to take a video and show you. I've got a whole menagerie of different fancies. I know in the fancy world, people tend to stick to one or two different types. But for me, only getting into it, only learning, I love that I go in there and there's a whole menagerie of different ones. I've got pairs of this, pairs of that, and I love them. There's some real characters in there, and I'm looking forward again to them to being able to pot around the garden and what have you as well. Yeah, and then the milers, and then I'm gonna get a kit of rollers. I've got some rollers already that Will, friend of Zandy's, I got off. So I'm gonna try with them. I love researching and learning about new parts of the sport, and I don't know anything about rollers up until a few weeks ago. And I have to say, very friendly, helpful bunch of people that I've already met online with it. But yeah, I'm going to do another podcast just about the rollers as well. So yeah, that's kind of my plans and the changes that have been happening here. Obviously, we're going into racing season. I wish everybody well. And yeah, it's let's hope everybody has a good season. So thanks for listening, and catch you soon. I'm going to be doing another podcast very soon about rollers. I've got some more ideas coming up for podcasts as well. If you know anybody that you would like to be interviewed, and you'd like to see me interview on these podcasts as a guest, please give me some suggestions and let me know. In the meantime, thanks for listening or watching. Catch you soon.
You've been listening to the RPI Podcast. Check out more episodes at podcast.racingpigeoninternational.com.